of the music.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Oswald. I am TIGAR Global Committee Chair. And as you all are trickling in, let's go ahead and head over to chat and input your contact information. Input your name, your email, your phone number, what your niche is, where you're from. So that way we can keep track and start networking with each other.
The computers.
Wow, look at this. We have Lisa here. We have Trisha here. Welcome, ladies. And Bonnie, thank you for being here on your vacation. That's awesome.
Good morning.
Hi, Trisha.
Hey, Trisha.
Hey,
Hi, good to
Trisha.
see all of you.
Okay, I'm curious, what's the weather like in Arizona right now?
We're gonna hit 106 today, a low of 84.
God. Mhm.
Good morning, Trisha. It's Perul.
Oh, hi, good morning.
Sorry, I'm under the weather, so I put my mute volume off. I just got back from Costa Rica and I can't wait to come back. So Alan,
Okay,
this is
good.
perfect timing.
Where were you?
We did San Jose, Limon, and then we did Guanacaste, Monteverde,
Okay, nice.
Manuel Antonio. So,
Wow, you saw the whole country.
went to only one volcano, and I still have to do waterfalls and hot springs. So
Okay.
got to come back soon.
Yeah, there's plenty of reasons to come back.
This is a wonderful little group here. I'm just kind of looking at everybody's background a little bit.
Well, it is 9:03, so I would say let's just go ahead and get started. And the only reason is because Alan has so much information to share with us, and I will give him as much time as possible. So with that said, let's just do a little bit of Zoom housekeeping to start off. Please make sure to mute yourself unless you have a question that you want to ask Alan during the presentation. He said he's willing to, answer. If you have any questions, just go ahead and unmute yourself or put your questions on the chat. And the other thing is, once again, make sure you put your contact information on the chat so we can all network with each other. And I want to start the event by stating TIGAR Global Committee mission statement. And our mission statement is as follows. The Global Culture Committee of the Inland Gateway Association of Realtors' purpose is to provide members with global market updates on inbound and outbound transactions through education and networking, as well as building partnership with global-minded real estate agents in the local market. So with that said, I don't know if you all know this or not, but our committee is fairly new. We were founded in 2021, which is basically last year. We currently have 8 members, and they are Adriana, I believe she's still out of the country. We have Donna Bell, we have Spencer, we have Ann Downley, we have Bessam, we have Mila, we have Maria. And our goal mainly for the Global Committee is basically to educate and network. And we do it by trying to understand how we can benefit by knowing and understanding practices from other countries and the culture, the diverse culture, because the more we educate ourselves, the more we're going to be able to improve on our global business and also be able to network with realtors across the country. So with that said, we also want to make sure that we bring global awareness to our local market. As you many know, I'm certain many of you have already worked with international buyers, maybe from China or maybe from Canada. As you're aware, you are already working in a global business. So with that said, I don't know if you guys were aware that in 2022, 20% of snowbirds from Canada are traveling this year after COVID. And majority of them are heading toward Florida, but in our region, they're heading toward Palm Springs and San Diego. So with that said, you know, there's great opportunity for each and every one of us to get a portion of the business. And right now, what I want to do is transfer the event over to the founding president of FIAPSI, USA Los Angeles. And he was also the Global Forum Chair for CAR 2020. He was also the Global Business Alliance member for NAR in 2019. And he's mainly known for being one of the founders for Realtors Without Borders. And he does a lot of trade missions to Dubai, Tulum, China, Mexico. With that said, I want to give you Spencer Ho.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and good morning. That was a great introduction. Thank you, Sarah. And we're all here basically to help everyone. So definitely, I'm always happy to join, attend, and help plan out things that are global related. So when I was tasked to help arrange for a presentation on Costa Rica today, it was no question for me to directly reach out to Allen. Allen basically has been living in Costa Rica now 18 years, and he's actually an expat, originally living here in the US. So definitely gives us great insight, all of us that want to share Costa Rica from that perspective. Allen is the broker owner, of Costa Rica Paradise Properties, and he was the founder of Keller Williams Costa Rica. So he's been very involved in Costa Rica real estate. He also is a past president for Costa Rica Global Association of Realtors. So also very involved as far as the organized real estate there. And I specifically asked him to share a little today as far as how that works over there and how us as non-Costa Rica realtors can basically legally share and help co-market properties and work with a local agent on the ground over there. So we don't get in trouble. We don't want to get in trouble ever. So with that, everyone give a round of applause for Allen, and he has a great presentation for us.
Thank you, everyone. That was a very generous introduction, Spencer, and hello to everyone who we've met before and all you new people. I'm very glad to share Costa Rica with you. It's my favorite topic. As Spencer said, I've been here 18 years. It's my new home country, and I was recently given the privilege of being a citizen, which I accepted so that I could vote, get another passport, and just feel like this is my country. So I have a presentation today that's an expat overview. It is available as a brochure, which the association will be distributing after the presentation if you would like a copy. So let me try and share my screen here. Okay. Okay, can everybody see that? I use this picture frequently because this is the dream that draws everyone to Costa Rica. An ocean view property, looking at the sunset every day and just joining yourself with the peace of the universe. And that's what attracted us, my partner and I, David, years ago. We were living in Chicago, had been there 14 years. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Had enough of winter. Knew I always would want to wind up in a warm country. And we used our ability, because we had a travel agency, to explore the world, South America, South Pacific, and eventually wound up in Costa Rica. And for a lot of reasons I'll share over this presentation, I think you'll understand why. And so I'll move on. So first I'm going to go through a country overview. In case you're all, if anybody's not clear, Costa Rica is in Central America. It's not an island. It is connected to Panama and Nicaragua. I get a lot of inquiries for people who want to know where am I in Puerto Rico? That's not it. Or where am I in San Juan? That's not it. It's Costa Rica, and it's San Jose is the capital. As a point of reference, the latitude is just about the same as Hawaii. The longitude is just about the same as Chicago. It's a due north nonstop flight for 4 hours, O'Hare to Costa Rica. Costa Rica is about as big as West Virginia, which is pretty small if you can imagine the US states. Population, as you can see, about 5 million. Per capita income, annual growth rate, and we haven't had any recent financial crises, thankfully. Here's a map of the country with points of interest. If you're aware of, obviously, the orange dot is the capital, which is in the center of the country. That's where we have one international airport. The yellow dot is Liberia, Costa Rica, which is in my province. The vision of the hotel operators on the Pacific coast was that if an international airport was on the coast near them, business would boom. So they subsidized Delta Airlines to start flying to Liberia on a scheduled basis at the end of 2002. And now we have over 60 flights a week from different points all over the globe, Europe, North America, South America. And it was a massive success to have an international airport on the Pacific side. As far as natural features, the Arenal volcano, everyone I think is aware of that. Many hot springs, resorts around it. I'm going down the right side of the slide first. Tamarindo is the world-renowned surfing destination. It's where most people start their first vacation. Limon is on the Caribbean side, which I just started visiting it myself a couple of years ago, and it's really equally beautiful as far as coast and ocean. And because it's a lot less traveled, real estate prices are a lot more reasonable there as well. I pointed out San Jose, the capital, already. Manuel Antonio on the Pacific side is where the really beautiful national park is. A lot of people put that on their itinerary. Then we have the southern zone, which is most of the area from Manuel Antonio to the border with Panama. It is a new emerging destination. What they're lacking there is an international airport. And so they're thinking about putting one in at that end of the country as well. And then if you'd like a really natural experience, the Osa Peninsula is one of the most preserved places on the planet and protected. The red dots are new for this presentation because things have been happening around us on the Pacific coast, the Northwest Pacific coast, where I am speaking to you from, which is Playas Flamingo, Potrero, and Ganta. There's a brand new marina in the ocean. There's a brand new beach town called Las Catalinas. It's quite an investment zone for developers. And we do arguably have some of the most beautiful beaches in the country. So increasingly people are understanding that maybe their vacation dreams for a beachy location with ocean views, lots of attractions, could start in Flamingo, is starting now. Someone mentioned earlier that they went to Monteverde recently. It's also near us. It's very secluded and a reputation for relaxation and natural experience. Nosara is becoming popular on the Pacific coast, and it's most known now as a celebrity hideout, but it's attracting a lot of people. And then what's really trending lately is an area called Santa Teresa and Malpais. It's kind of difficult to get to. It's about a 5-hour drive from Tamarindo, but the beaches are just lovely and there's very good surfing there as well. So why is Costa Rica so appealing? I mean, I got hooked 18 years ago for my own reasons, but as time has passed, certain things keep repeating as far as why is it so attractive. If you watch rankings of global vacation destinations, it's almost always number 1 or number 2. It's also number 1 or number 2 global retirement destinations for Americans. It's usually 1 and 2 with Panama. Recently, it was announced because the Costa Rican government has an agency that tries to attract corporations to relocate here, that corporations that have started to move out of China for political or tariff reasons are picking Costa Rica first. As far as lifestyle, it's a blue zone for longevity. I hope you're familiar with what that means, but people do live longer here, and it has been documented. There is a complete focus on the environment. As you'll see later, 27% of the country's protected. It's going to be carbon neutral shortly, and we have basically perfect weather. It's never below 70 degrees pretty much anywhere in the country. And then in general, the philosophy here, they're very much committed to peace. There's no armed forces. They're committed to equality and individual rights and access to healthcare. And we'll go over all this in better detail. So working on the environment, as I said, it's 27% protected. 80% of the electricity is generated by renewable sources. There's a goal of being carbon neutral. One of the reasons we have geothermal energy alternative is because we are in the ring of fire. So the volcanoes huff and puff, they don't explode like you might see in Italy or Southeast Asia, but we do have heat and smoke coming out of our volcanoes from time to time. The country also does not have any mining or petroleum processing in the country. It does make gasoline expensive generally. When you move from the US, when I moved 18 years ago, gas was $5 a gallon here. It's still $5 a gallon. And now we kind of laugh at you all getting hysterical about $5 a gallon there. It's just sort of welcome to the world price. There's also no longer any hunting or zoos. The zoo animals have been retired to retreats of their own in the countryside managed by the government. As I said, the weather's pretty much perfect in my mind anyway. It does rain, different seasons, etc., but it is a tropical environment. We have 2 oceans on either side of our small country. The ocean temperature is almost always 80, so there's never any severe temperature shifts that will generate severe weather. We do have thunderstorms, and we do have an occasional brush with the hurricane as it moves to the north, but there really is no severe weather that we deal with on a regular basis. There's 2 seasons, green and dry. As I was explaining earlier, one of the reasons I like it here is because this part of the country has weather that's very similar to Los Angeles. We have a dry season that starts approximately at Christmas, and it doesn't rain a drop till the end of April, where it's sunny and warm every day. That's when everyone who's freezing in North America comes for their winter vacation. It's our high season for tourism. And then when it does rain, it's like we have now, where this is green season. It can shower in the afternoon or evening. Very rarely do we have a day of rain, but it's still warm and everything is turning green. And this picture is typical sunset view of a shower over the ocean. Costa Rican society is really wonderful. Everyone's very welcoming. You feel safe here for the most part. Everything's quite stable. It's been a democracy for over 200 years now. There's a very high level of literacy in the country. Education is highly valued, especially to become bilingual with English, because that's the key to getting a higher paying job in the economy. Obviously, if you're not aware, Americans are here in huge numbers, as are Canadians, obviously for—
Hello. Hi.
Oh, hello, everyone.
Look at that food. Ooh.
This is an— Oops, hello. Okay. This is an aerial view of Tamarindo, which is the global hotspot for surfing.
Barbara, can you mute please?
see too. I'm trying to.
And okay, we'll move on. The people here are just basically wonderful, very family oriented, very helpful. If you have a flat tire on the road, people are stopping to help you. If something's going on at the beach, like you're stuck in the sand, there's people there to help you. There's really a very giving nature to everyone, and it's clear why it's categorized as one of the happiest places on earth. There's a real focus of keeping people happy and healthy. There's a national public health system, which I'll explain a little bit later. There's private and public healthcare here, and the two work together very well. Here is the system, pretty much. The public system is called the CAHA, or in our terms, Social Security. They have a full system of hospitals, local community hospitals, local community clinics, and there's one big tertiary care hospital in San Jose, which is the biggest picture with the yellow border. I have been served by this system. When you become a resident, you're required to join and start paying into it. Most people who are on a payroll pay about 9% of their salary as their contribution to the national health system. Their employer pays another 14%. And I, as a retired person, because of my age in their categories, have full use of this system for $50 a month. It's a miracle and a deal. The tertiary care hospital cured me of prostate cancer 4 years ago with free radiation therapy treatments. There is a private system, which is equally sophisticated and available, especially for people with their own insurance. You can pay cash. It still costs a lot less than the US. I'm just sharing personal stuff. I hope you all don't mind. I had hernia surgery in the private system 7 years ago, and the total cost I paid cash was $3,000. So I think no matter what you're concerned about with healthcare, it can be handled here and handled well with extreme sense of caring for a lot less costs. The other detailed points to go to the pharmacy here. There's no requirement for prescriptions unless it's a narcotic. So when you walk into the pharmacy and want any other sort of general medication, it's over the counter and they ask you how many do you want. Dental care is excellent here, and it's about 25% the cost of the United States, which is my direct experience moving from Chicago to Costa Rica. And so because of these values, when people tell me they're coming for a vacation or to explore property purchase, I ask them if they're waiting to do any dental care in the US, and I suggest that they add a day or two and have it done here because it's so good. Visiting Costa Rica, whoops, sorry. Obviously surfing is our sort of brand in Costa Rica. Not everyone surfs, but it is available in a lot of parts of the country. We have to be mindful of COVID. The policies change all the time, as you're well aware. The government has you can see the link there. The Ministry of Health, Ministerio de Salud, has a website that you can refer to if you want to check yourself. I find the best source of information is your airline when you're buying your tickets, because they're the ones that have to enforce any policies of the country. Right now, things have been relaxed substantially. I don't even think we require a negative COVID test any longer or insurance. But as that can change with any sudden changes in the pandemic, please check before you book your tickets. The prime time to come, as I said, if you want to come in high season and make sure you've got a sunny day every day with a tan, is anytime between Christmas and the end of April. High season weather is different in different parts of the country, but for the most part, it is Christmas to April, as I mentioned. If you're going to go to a specific area like the Caribbean or the Southern Zone, you may want to check with the resort or your condo rental agent to make sure that you're coming at a good time weather-wise. As I said, green season is still lovely, even though it does rain, because everything is blooming and really lush. There's a lot of stuff to do besides the beach. Different parts of the country have different geographical features or topographical features. So you can find, if it's green season, river rafting. You can find mountain treks that might have hanging bridges. There's a lot of tours, particularly on rivers in boats, where you can see animals, and the monkeys will even climb onto the boat. There's tourist attractions like sky rides, and of course the spas and volcanoes and rainforest. It's all available across the country. Here's what someone asked about earlier. As it was mentioned in the introduction, I was the president of TIGAR, Costa Rica Global Association of Realtors, for 10 years. I got my CIPS in Jacksonville, Florida in 2010. And it occurred to me that this would be a great thing to have here, not only because I believe in CIPS, but people would like to come here to get it. And we wound up doing 9 of them in a row before COVID. And we were blessed by NAR in being sponsor of the year on the planet in 2018, which made us very proud. COVID knocked our schedule out for a couple of years, but we're back. And so if you're considering getting your CIPS designation, would like to get it in Costa Rica, it's scheduled for this September 27th to October 1st, 5 full days of training. And of course, a familiarization experience around the whole thing. The picture on the slide is the cover of the brochure, which is available. I believe Brett Brown is on this call. He is the instructor for CIPS. And we're very glad that he's taken that role this year. And so there'll be a lot more information and publicity about it starting now. If you'd like to get a copy of the brochure, the link to the CIGAR website to download it isn't quite ready yet, but I'll be glad to send you one myself. Before leaving home, there's things to keep in mind. And these are pictures of the 2 international airports that I mentioned earlier. You must have 6 months of valid time on your passport before you leave here. If you do not, the airline will not let you board in your home country. If you don't have that much time, get your passport renewed before you buy your plane tickets. As far as bringing money, US dollars are accepted freely. Most things are priced in US dollars and the local currency, which is the colony. If you're going to bring a lot of US cash, don't bring anything bigger than a 20 because it may be suspected to be counterfeit and denied. Most credit cards are accepted. It's a little difficult if you're trying to use American Express or Discover, but MasterCard and Visa work very well. And don't bother with traveler's checks. People do not like to accept them because it requires that they return to the US before their accounts are credited, and it takes a lot of time. Rental cars are readily available across the country. If you're of the mindset that you have to have a car the minute your plane lands, that is not necessarily true. There are shuttle services to your resorts, and rental cars are available on any day you're here when you need the car, instead of renting it for the week and leaving it in the parking lot. And so all this kind of stuff can be arranged in advance. If you're traveling to a resort or with the aid of a rental agent for a condominium or home, you can arrange the transfers and get a lot of more detail from them. Okay, living and working in Costa Rica. This is a view of Tamarindo from the hillside, just a point of interest. And as I said, this is usually the first stop on many people's vacation. So once you're here, you've had a vacation and you want to stay, what do you need to do? Well, Costa Rica does not require a visa, and you're allowed to enter with your passport and stay for 90 days. That's a pretty good amount of time. At the end of 90 days, you simply must cross a border and have your passport stamped again. And you can do this indefinitely. And we did this for the first 5 years we lived here, because it's very easy to go to Nicaragua for lunch, or go to Panama for a weekend, or to an island that's actually Colombia in the Caribbean. That's only a 40-minute flight. And that's possible. However, it does get kind of tiresome to try and remember that, oh, it's day 87, I better figure out where I'm going. So if you're really going to stay long-term and you feel you're going to possibly live here indefinitely, you can apply for residency. Everyone's familiar with immigration categories. Residency allows you to stay on a temporary basis for 3 years. Once you've done that, you can stay on a permanent basis as long as you want. And so the way you get started is, these are 5 ways to start your residency process. There are residency consultants here, immigration lawyers that are very good and will help you figure out exactly what category applies best for you. And I will make this special note too for women or families who have not had all the children you intend to have. Please consider having one of your children in Costa Rica. So you'll time a long vacation, so you're here to give birth. And you have to check with your airlines, because they don't let you travel after a certain number of weeks of pregnancy. But once the baby's born, it is a Costa Rican citizen and a US citizen dually. And because of the philosophy of the country here, the parents of that baby easily get their residency because they're caring for a Costa Rican citizen. So we've actually had 2 realtors who use this to get their residency quickly in Costa Rica by timing a birth to have children they intended to have anyway. And I'm only highlighting that because it's such an unusual story, and it's kind of the reverse of the anchor baby issue in the US, only it works for US families. So how can you work once you're here? As I said, it is required to work legally to have legal worker status. And that means you either were born here and you're a citizen, or you got your residency. And there's the 5 typical ways to get it. There is another way to do it, which there are other ways to do it, which is rentista status, which is basically the same thing as a green card in the US, where you deposit. At the moment, the amount is approximately $60,000 in any kind of financial account in Costa Rica, and you draw it out $2,500 a month and spend it. And as long as you're doing that, you're allowed to stay here and you're allowed to work. The other way is to own a business corporation, and in effect, your corporation is working here, you are not, but the corporation must have employees. And so if you decide to take this strategy, you'll have to have some Costa Rican employees and be aware of all the employment regulation that's here. And there's those salary deductions I talked about for Social Security. There is a tradition here that every December, every employee gets another month's salary as an end of year bonus. It's called aguinaldo. And so you actually pay 13 months worth of salary in any 12-month year. The labor laws heavily favor the employee. So it's very important, if you're going to have a corporation of any complexity, that you have a good lawyer to do that for you. And then of course, everyone, whether you're working individually as a resident or through a corporation, need to register with what's called the hacienda, which is our version of the IRS. What's daily life here? Oh, and I forgot to mention, let me go back just to see. That is a waterfall near the Arnall volcano, which you can walk to yourself and just sort of enjoy the moment, which is what these people are doing. This is an aerial view of Flamingo, which is my favorite spot. I live about 5 minutes from this spot, and my office is in the North Peninsula on the far side of the beach. And this is where the CIPS Institute will be held in September. Typically, if you have your house and car paid for, 2 people can live on $2,000 a month. And we live that every month. So unless you're going to build a big home that requires you invest a lot of money yourself or make payments on something, 2 people on typical Social Security could retire here and live successfully. It's interesting because the time is different. There's no daylight savings time. And most things are working toward what I call a farmer's clock or schedule. We're up early and bed early. 10 o'clock is up late, but that's just how it works. There's also the idea that you need to understand how to shop like a TICO. A TICO is a local person. You know where the best buys are, and you can find out where and keep using those retailers. Foreign products are available. They're expensive. We talked about gas already. The basic services most people ask for, which is high-speed internet, are available everywhere. Streaming is available. You can get Netflix here, Apple TV, whatever. There's also satellite TV services, which have a lot of English programming. The interesting thing about Costa Rica, there's no physical mail. No one brings mail to my house every day. Everything in this country is handled on the internet. So in that way, it's a little more advanced than even most what you probably experience daily there. There's no chemicals allowed, no hormones in the food. If I wanted to buy weed killer, I practically need permission of the president of the country. And so everything here is like chemical free. Cars get inspected and registered every year. That's a little bit of fee, but it's also for your protection. Cars are expensive to buy here because they're not made here. They're all imported, and there's a big duty on imported foreign products. Banking is also mostly internet-based. If you're unfortunate enough to have to go to the bank in person, it can be slow in the bank, and so you try to minimize that as much as possible. But as a visitor, as a foreigner, as a tourist, you can go to the bank and open a bank account if you're anticipating needing one in the future for a possible real estate purchase, business purchase, or just to have money here when you're traveling. Okay, investing in Costa Rica. It's very similar to US practices. We'll go through what happens to a typical client. It's safe, it's easy, and the most unfortunate feature is it's almost all cash sales. So I'm going to go through market practices and use different properties as illustration. I'll start with the property description. This is a typical condo in a rental resort across the street from the beach in Tamarindo. These started 18 years ago at about $200,000. Now furnished, you have to spend about $500,000. So you understand what you're buying. This one is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot condo. The resort has a very large pool, as you can see. It's very well positioned in the resort area of Tamarindo, and this would be a very attractive rental listing if you were to buy this as an investment, perhaps only use it yourself 1 month of the year. It's very big business here, rentals. The Tourism Bureau, or the Ministry of Tourism for Costa Rica, estimates consistently that the country is about 3,000 hotel rooms short a year because tourism always exceeds capacity. And so that's what's created from the inability of the hotels to serve all the tourists. It's created the market for rental properties. And so if you search for rental properties, you can find very professional, very well-placed rental agents and property managers to work with. In general, property prices are in US dollars. The sales almost always are all cash. Closings are very short. All properties are recorded with a legal book, and transferring the property can be as easy as one signature. The last closing I had to sell my house in Chicago took 4 hours. Buying my first property here took 10 minutes. That doesn't mean it's less safe because a lot of preparatory work is done, but my participation was very minimal. There's something called the National Public Registry, which I will explain in detail in a slide coming up. But every property in the country has a unique property ID, and the public registry is available to everyone to check properties, detailed information, and histories. And I'll explain that later. The legal profession is very evolved. Almost all the lawyers are bilingual because there's so many English speakers coming here as investors. It's based on the Spanish model of the legal profession, which is different from the English model, which we have in the US. But in general, it's just as evolved and just as careful. And as far as listings with agents, when I first got here, it was all open listings, which we all know how maddening open listings are. We have taught the clients here, the value of exclusive listings, and we have almost all exclusive listings now. Oops, sorry, went too far. Okay. This is an example of this is an example of a typical condo. It's in an 8-unit complex called Casablanca Village. The typical unit in it has 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, 1,000 square feet, and would be selling for about $225,000 unfurnished. This is pretty much the entry-level condo that a lot of people are looking for. This is another condo alternative, obviously on the other extreme end of price. This is a penthouse in Tamarindo. You can see the view of the town and the ocean. The wide beach is out front. It's in a resort with a hotel included, multiple swimming pools. And again, just 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, larger square footage, very big resort pool. And this would be something above $1 million. As far as the purchase process goes, or I should say I'm using as an illustration for this slide, a house in a neighborhood that's about a 5-minute walk to the beach near me. This is 2 blocks from my house. It's called Casa Familia. It's for sale right now. It's 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3,200 square feet. And it's being offered at $595 unfurnished, but includes all the appliances in the kitchen. It was done by an architect who also built it, which is why it has kind of interesting spaces inside, such as the dramatic staircase to go to the 2nd floor. As far as the purchase process goes, foreign investors have equal rights, and that is, as a tourist, you can buy property here without any special approvals or alliances or trusts or whatever. You can buy it on your name. Some people do hold assets in corporations, because it used to be easier to transfer the shares than the property. That has changed. But some people feel the liability protection is worth it. And it's just really a decision you'll make with the lawyer at the time of the purchase. The one liability of putting it in a corporation is that there's corporation tax every year, simply because corporations exist. For a typical property like a home, you need to pay the government $300, and some people don't want to do that. As far as transfer taxes and closing costs, the total closing costs usually average about 4%. This would include escrow, transfer taxes. Oops, sorry, there's a truck going by. There is escrow. It's supervised by the banking regulators. Because of the Patriot Act, after 9/11, escrow can be somewhat of an invasive, painful purpose for investors who are buying property here. You need to prove where the money came from. We've been through this before, I know, but here they really want to see things. And I get a lot of anxious questions about why I need to provide my tax returns to buy a piece of property in Costa Rica. It's not Costa Rica, it's the US, it's the Patriot Act. There's value added tax or sales tax here on everything, all goods and services. So on the commission only in a purchase, the seller pays 13% tax. So a $10,000 commission will be $11,300 to the seller, because $1,300 will be tax going to the government. And it is paid by the seller because the value-added tax is paid by the purchaser of the service or the product, and the seller is buying the service of the realtor. This is another house option. Just to show you, this is the same one that was the initial slide with the sunset. It's called Casa Isla en Cielo. There's actually 2 houses with a super custom swimming pool. The total property has 5 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, over 5,000 square feet, and it's on a 7,200 square meter lot with a spectacular ocean view back to Flamingo, if you can see in the blue picture. It's being offered at 1.7 million. This would be more obviously the luxury category of house here. Here's another one that goes even further. It's in a gated community called Mar Vista, which has paved roads and everything's done, you know, to the max. I'm not showing you to say this is the only thing we have, but to show that if you have clients, we have things at this level. And so as you can see, 4 bedrooms, 6 baths, 11,000 square feet of house, 3.4 million. Then there's just property. Whoops, I skipped that. Oh, I should say the finance, using this slide to go through financing alternatives, which are actually zero for foreigners. The only possible way that foreigners can get financing for short-term, 2 years, 3 years max, is to do it with the developer or the seller, if they're willing to do that. Although the market has been very strong and no one's had to do that lately. There's also hard money guys, which are totally onerous terms 6 points, 18%, 2-year terms, but they are available if you need to go to that resource. In addition to built property, there's land. And so there's a community. This isn't even on the beach. This is in the mountain range behind the beach. It's actually horse country. The woman on the horse is my friend Pat, who's a realtor as well. And one example is a development called Rancho Cartagena, where you can get 5,000 square meter lots starting at 55,000. And on those lots, you can build a single family residence and you can have horses. The other option, back to the mountain with the houses again, is something like Pacific Heights. This is what people are looking for. That's again, Flamingo in the view, the closer peninsula. The 5,000 square meter lot is a minimum for the zoning category that most land is offered in for residential homes. Those lots with these kind of views start at 149,000. The lot I'm featuring is lot number 8. It has this spectacular view from the building pad you can see. It's got water and electricity available to the property. It's a 7,000 square meter lot, which is the top lot on the mountain for 375,000. And then there's the registro. I mentioned this earlier. This is the home page of what's called the public registry or the Registro Público. And what Costa Rica has, which is really a unique resource, in my opinion, in my experience of it, is an online database available to anyone in the country, anywhere actually, which has every legal activity, document, property, title, vehicle, whatever, recorded on it. Because when you own a property, you transfer title on the registro. When you buy a car, the title of the car is on the registro. It's only legal if it's on the registro. And so there's a system of property numbering, et cetera, we'll get into in a minute, that you can, if you can get the ID number of a property, you can get into the registro and check its background. This is totally free. All I needed to do to get my own account is to have an email address and set up a password. Here's an example of what's available on the registro, and this is the information for the $375,000 lot that I just showed you as an illustration. Every property gets a unique ID number. It's called the Folio Real. I've highlighted it here. The number 5 is for Guanacaste, the province. The next 6 digits are the unique property number that no other property has in that province. And the last 3 numbers, when they're all zeros, indicate it's a titled property. There's different situations. Not often will you run into this, but some things are not titled. They're sold as shares, or they're in the maritime zone along the coast, and you have special permission from the local municipality. But almost everything you'll run into in terms of a condo or a house or a lot is titled. And this information, if you have the number, is freely available to anyone with an account on the registro. So it's probably a little small to see, but you can see how big it is, who owns it, any liens on it, the history of ownership. I didn't show the whole file on the left, but it allows, and for a realtor, for me, just how I use it mainly, is if someone's offering me a listing, I can go and I get the ID number for the property from them. I can go in here and make sure that everything they're telling me is the truth. There's no hidden mortgages. They really are the owner, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so I can do my own mini due diligence as a realtor to make sure everything's copacetic. The other information is called the Plano Catastro number, and that's a separate set of information simply about the land. And the diagram on the right is the diagram of the property I showed you for $375,000. You can see in the data part of the registro, the size of the lot also shows up on the drawing, and they're the same. This drawing is not a survey, it's simply a diagram, but it's a confirmation of the location of the property lines in general of what you're buying. And so as other interesting points about properties here, they can cross roads. The dotted lines in the middle are the roads down the mountain, and the property has a permanently recorded easement for public passage across it, and that cannot change. So when you're buying property, you will also want to check what easements exist to make sure you understand that you know, traffic may be driving through your lot or on one side of it, because it's important to the whole development. As far as occupancy issues, property taxes are the best news story of Costa Rica. On titled property, the property tax rate is 0.25% per year for a typical property. So that's $250 a year on a valuation of $100,000. If you're in a luxury category, there's a little bit higher rate, and there's a whole separate class on how to decide if your property is in the luxury category, which is only built property, but the rate can go up to 0.4 or 0.5 per year, but it's still a tremendous deal. Property insurance is offered by the government. The insurance monopoly is called the INS. They have rates that are very reasonable. Property is covered for all risks except for an airplane falling on it or nuclear war. And there's agents of the government who are paid a commission. There's no insurance companies trying to offer different deals for different prices. Once you do buy a property, you will probably want to hire a property management firm or a vacation rental marketing firm, possibly a concierge service, depending what level you're investing. It's also important to be aware that there are special laws covering condominiums and the first 200 meters of coastline near the ocean. If you're going to invest in those sort of categories, please have a lawyer check everything that you're signing. The illustration in this slide is a B&B in Tamarindo, which is also a tennis club, which is an interesting idea. You can stay here, or you can play tennis, or you can do both. And so this property, which is also a 5-minute walk to the ocean with 6 suites and 2 tennis courts, was offered for $1.195 million. As far as property values go, the real boom at the beginning of the century, which we all lived through, the big crash, those prices are not back even yet. but recent increases of 5 to 10% are happening. This is not a speculative investment environment. It's just solid value that does increase year over year. You can, as I pointed out before with the examples, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath entry-level condo near the ocean can be 200 to 250. The example I showed you was 225. If you want ocean view or on top of the beach, then you're at a much higher price point. Land values were the slowest to recover in the crash, but they're pretty good now. And in San Jose, because there's so much of the local population concentrated there, developers tend to build there first. And there was a period of time with the residential oversupply. As far as commercial properties go, one of the most popular categories is a free trade zone. And this is a special legal status your development can have if it's commercial, where foreign companies are allowed to lease property in the free trade zone. They're allowed to manufacture things tax-free and export them pretty much tax-free, because the country wants the jobs created that will be involved in the free trade zone to produce the products. And so this model is applied in a lot of different locations, particularly around San Jose. This property example is a retreat property. It's about 15 minutes from the beach where I am. The name is Finca Roca. Finca can mean farm or ranch. It is 200 acres with the custom pool that you see in home and office building. It was the residence of the most famous pool designer in Costa Rica. It's quite a value at 1.49 million. And then there's other development properties that are in a much more raw state. This one is currently available. It's called Finca Salaman. It has a ridge with an ocean view, again, back to Flamingo. What we're finding as prices have increased and availability of land decreases near the beach, people start considering properties further away from the beach as development locations. Even though this looks quite far, it's only an 8-minute drive from this spot to one of the nicest beaches on this coast near me. So you can get 19 hectares, which is about 46.7 acres. It has a registered well, which is very important. Water is a key feature of any construction or development here. The property has a potential for over 100 residential units, condos or homes. And with this kind of a view, condo towers on the ridge are a very likely alternative. It also is zoned to be commercial along the road, and it is being offered at 3.4 million. Another development, which is an area, this was a hotel property. The hotel failed for unknown reasons. It was being offered as a potential for 160 condos in different towers. It was called Tamarindo Paradise. The developer got caught in the crash, and so all of this was sold for 1.2 million 2 years ago, and it really was a sacrifice sale. Whoops. And lastly, in the property, there are shovel-ready projects. I'm sorry, did someone have a question? There are shovel-ready projects that certain developers do. They buy the land, they do all the design and the permit work, and they offer them for sale on a basis that someone can finish the project. And so this one is called Costa del Sol. It's in an area called Samara, which is south of where I am. Whoops, I'm not sure what's going on. And so for what would be 172 units ready to build, the offering price is $11 million. So if you have very large investors looking for a project that they don't have to do all the lead time, 1 to 2 years of preparation work, these opportunities exist. Okay, moving to professionalism. As I said, when I got here, Costa Rica was all open listings. It was the Wild West in real estate, and we've been working hard to bring it up to US standards. So we have relationships with all these other real estate associations before. That's why they're illustrated. But in general, There's still no legal licensing of realtors, but the key requirement is legal worker status. And while we're working with the legislature to get a licensing law, there's really no timetable at the moment. It's really up to the president to set the priorities. There was just an election in May, and we don't know if the new president has this on his priority list yet or not. The legal worker status is very important because we have had realtors come down from the US, decide that they, must know everything, go into business, put up a shingle, and they're not aware that if they get denounced in front of immigration by anybody, a fellow colleague, a client, and immigration discovers that they're working here without proper legal status, they can be deported and unable to return for 10 years. So that's why it's very important never to consider working here on your own or taking listings here without the proper relationship. Now, you can work on a referral basis with local realtors, and that's the preferred relationship we'd like to have with all of you all the time. But as further background, there are two associations. Ours was CRJR, then CCCBR is centered around San Jose. They're both NAR bilateral partners. Both have agreed to work together to raise the professional standard in the country. So now both require their members to be individual members of NAR. And we all ascribe to the professional standards that all of you do in the United States. Both associations require training classes. The CRJR classes are 4 full days. It is important to know that association membership is voluntary, but we're going to work on that because we will be having an MLS in Costa Rica by the end of this year, and I'll explain that in a minute. We do value our international relations. As you can see, we've connected to all the initials you've seen there and many more. And we do have representation of most international franchises. Most of the ones you would all know or work with frequently have been here for years. We are aware that EXP and Engel & Volkers intend to open in the country this year. Here we go. As far as referral practices, we use the typical global fee practice, which is somewhat negotiable, but mostly 25% of the position of the realtor here in Costa Rica. And I've done this many times. If you have a standard referral agreement you like to use, that's always fine. Just prepare it and send to me or to any realtor here in the association, hopefully. We'll sign it and we'll be in business together. You can refer buyers or sellers. The only bad news about referrals here is we never have anybody to send back to you. Once we get them here, they stay. But we're always open to that possibility. If you are working on a referral basis here and are going to get paid your referral fee, if you don't have a tax basis in Costa Rica, the realtor partner here has to withhold 15% of your fee and pay it to the government. So if you own a condo in a corporation, you can use that corporation to bill me for your fee, and I don't have to withhold the 15%. If you're simply sending the referral as a realtor in any state in the US, I will have to deduct 15% of your fee and give it to the government. So and this is something that you can negotiate with each individual realtor. I will toot my own horn. I pay 30% because when I take the 15% out, you still get approximately 25%. And I want you all to be as happy as possible, so you keep referring. You can refer instantly. There's no need to prepare. If you would like to be a referral member of the association, there is such a membership category, and that will give you a preferred access to the membership database, etc. You'll be included in the notices, and depending on the software, you can possibly have a widget that displays the listings of the members on your website. Let's see. We have had a cross-border initiative with NAR for a while. We raised this issue with NAR when people were working here without being without bothering to be referring agents. That sort of died down now. We're happy to report. And I just put the note again, if you come here and work without the proper status, you can be thrown out for 10 years. So the breaking news on this slide is that the two associations have agreed to implement the Omni MLS software for Costa Rica this year. It's supposed to begin in July. And so some of you may be familiar with this company. I'm not. It's apparently is the basis of the California MLS. That's what I'm told. But we're all looking forward to this because we want to use it to further regulate our peers. If people want to be able to say they're on the MLS, they're going to have to be a member and a member of NAR and pay their dues and follow the rules. And even though we don't have the same kind of control over our members routinely, we will use the MLS rules to make sure that the information is accurate. Things that are sold are not still appearing, and a lot of other problems you can run into with real estate here. So that is my overview of Costa Rica. This is a picture of the Tamarindo Paradise Resort I told you that was sold at a sacrifice, just to wrap up. And I'm glad to take any and all questions. If you will be coming, don't forget your sunglasses. And I'm happy to include you in my email database, or you can follow my Facebook page. And I'm always glad to help on WhatsApp. That's my WhatsApp number. So thank you very much. Sarah?
It looks like Sarah had to leave, so I will finish up. So everyone, let's thank Allen for a great presentation. So right now we have time for a little bit of Q&A, and if not, then we have some announcements. So if any questions, please ask now. And I think there was a question in the chat. They were asking for the rentista for the 60,000 deposit. Is that per person or per family?
I believe it's per person, but we can check with the immigration consultant. I should let everyone know, if you're interested in talking to the immigration consultant, she is a big sponsor of our association, a personal friend, and she'll be glad to talk to you directly. We can refer you.
Let me see, there's another question that just came in. How far is the entry-level condo from the beach? I believe the ones that start in the 200,000 range.
That particular example is about a 3-minute walk to the nearest beach.
Oh, wow, that's very close. Let's all buy.
I mean, there's, I don't know how many beach snobs we have in the group. I'm one. The nicest beaches from that condo would be a 8-minute drive, but there is a beach with the ocean, 3 minutes walk from that one, with restaurants and things to do on the beach.
Excellent. Do we have any more questions for Allen while we have him? Okay, so
okay. Well,
everyone,
thank you all very much.
Everyone, his information is on the screen, so feel free to reach out to Allen directly if you have additional questions or if you have referrals. And Allen is a great person to network with, since if it's a referral for someone outside his area, he has a huge network down there as well. And as far as TIGAR, as Sarah mentioned earlier, we are a newer global committee, but we are very active. So we are having continuing programming for the rest of this year. July, we will have a presentation like this for Peru. And for August, we will have a presentation like this for Japan. So definitely one that is interested, please follow one of us that are part of the TIGAR Global Committee. We will have a live event in September. So those that are TIGAR members, and I believe we will be opening it up for our sister associations here in Southern California. Please keep that in mind. We will have announcements for that.
This is a message from Plant Medical Group. The following is an important message for.
Mute.
Hi, thank you, Spencer and Allen. I had a question regarding the SIPS class in Costa Rica. Are you able to
Okay.
forward us information on that, or would it be on the NAR website?
It should be on the NAR website, but if you want to send me an email, we'll send you the brochure directly.
Okay, wonderful. We'll do that. Thank you so much.
We just started promoting it this past weekend.
Oh, wonderful. Do you have the details on that?
Yes, I have the brochure. I can send it to you myself.
Okay, wonderful. I will send you my email. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Excellent. So everyone, thank you again for joining us this morning. And hopefully we will have everyone back in July and August for our Peru and Japan presentations. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alan.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.